Bringing art to life is something that this Ascension Parish resident is doing in a whole new way. We're joined with Ronnie Anderson Jr. in the Anboran Fairytales. Ronnie, thank you so much for joining us here. When we saw this, we could not pass it up. Tell me a little bit about yourself as an author in Anboran Fairytales.
Well, thank you for having me, Rae'ven. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to share Anboran with the community. I'm a father first. That's what kicked it all off. My daughter, having a question, and it has blown into 7 books and growing. And just spending time as an author is like amazing. I'm just working all the time trying to create new stories that I can share with the community, and it's work. It's a lot of work.
It's good work, and I think it's work that helped to answer the question, and we're going to get into that. You said your daughter had a question, and I think that question might be in the minds of a lot of little girls. What was the question?
So my oldest, Ellie, I was picking up from school, and she asked me, she was like, "Dad, how come other little girls get to have more than one princess and we only get to have one?" And I was a bit ignorant on that, but that was the question that sparked it all.
And so as a father, when you hear that question, what's running through your mind, and then how did you come to this type of solution?
Well, as a dad, you're always trying to protect. That's one of the first things you want to do is how can I protect, how can I fix? Those are the things that are in my mind all the time. And after research, I was just like, I have to fix this. I want to be able to give her more than one princess, and not just her, but other little girls.
So the Anboran Fairytales were born. Tell me a little bit about the process and coming up with the name Anboran. What does it mean, and how did these characters come to life?
So I'll start with the name. The name Anboran. So my last name is Anderson, and my wife's last name before we got married was Bowman, and the RAN are my initials. So I wanted to combine the two families that had a huge impact on my life. My mom and my wife and her parents. They had a huge impact on my life, so I wanted to honor them in the name.
That's awesome. So the Anboran Fairytales were born, and now tell me a little bit about these beautiful characters here.
Okay, so beautiful comes from our fairy tale here, Changing Beautiful. And in this fairy tale, which is my first fairy tale, I wanted to change the word beautiful. I wanted to add a little color to that, because there was a time where people of color, people that look like you and I, were left out. And so, not that I want to diminish the word beautiful, because we're all beautiful. I mean, you look at the world around you, there's diversity everywhere. There's no one type of tree. There's no one type of animal. Sometimes you would think, oh, you look at the cats and you're like, that's just a lion. But there are different types of lions. There are different types of monkeys. And so in this fairy tale, Beautiful, I'm just adding a little color to Beautiful. And I found that it was lacking. I wanted to fix it. And so Princess Beautiful is a beautiful princess that has the world, has everything that is, you can imagine. She had it. And in her world, normally the sons were honored and kings honored that. Every man, woman pretty much wanted to have that son first, something to pass down. But then in this fairy tale, her father, he has a daughter, and he changes that. And now you have this balance that I would say of loving both the daughters and the sons. And so, yeah, Princess Beautiful, that's my first character, and yeah.
So take me into character creation. Your daughter asked a question that sparked the birth of these fairy tales when it's going into conceptualizing how these characters will look, because you're creating a solution to a question.
Yeah, so that's a great question, Rae'ven. So my artist, I don't want to leave her out, Seda Koskin, we work together to make sure that little girls of color can be able to see characters that look like them. Because when you can't see yourself, one of the first things that happens is a sense of value. And when you can't see yourself, you can't really value yourself. And I wanted to make sure that my daughter, look, you'll never feel that way again. I want to make sure that you value who you are. And I don't want you to think that you can't be anything, whatever it is, whatever you want to do. And just like Dad is working hard to change the situation, you'll be able to do the same thing. And so character creation, I wanted to make sure that they had hair that, like, if she see Big Mom or she see her mom or she see her, sometimes her hair is puffy, then she'll be able to see that. I wanted her to not just, you know, if you look at a lot of old African American art, or depictions of us, you will see that the quality would be sometimes lacking. And I wanted to find an artist, a professional artist, someone that would like have that same desire as me to be able to uplift a people through the stories, through the artwork. And one of the first things when people see it, they're like, "Oh, who did the art? It's amazing." Like the clothing, and I just love her eyes. And we worked on everything. And yeah, so it's been a long process, but when you get to see it, you hear little kids say, "Mommy, look at her. She looks just like me." Dad.
I know, I'm thinking that.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I am.
We worked really hard on that.
That was bringing me into my next question.
Mm-hmm.
You found a solution for your child, but there are so many more that look like her.
Yeah.
And so now that this has taken off, tell me
Mm-hmm.
a little bit about the growth of these stories and the outreach. What is the response from other little girls and other parents now having accessibility to something like this?
So when I first created it, I didn't get the response that I was looking for. It took some time, but once like people became aware of what we were doing, and you know, it started with one invite here. You come to this I believe it was the library in Ascension, where they invited us out to do a little community interview. And from that, it just exploded. There were different libraries, different schools, daycares, preschools. We ended up getting our first major apparel deal. From there, we got our own brand representation, and it has just been growing since then. I would say Anboran has been a blessing to me. It has, I like to tell people that it is a healing project, and it's not just for children of color, but it's also for those who are outside of the community to be able to grab books and say, hey, just like we fell in love with Cinderella, we fell in love with Snow White, I want little girls from all over to say, I love Princess Beautiful story, or I love Princess Chandelier. I want them to grab these stories and say, this is another great fairy tale. And just to tell kids, hey, if you don't like this fairy tale, then try Anboran Fairytales. They're really good.
You know, you created this as an Ascension Parish resident. What are your goals for Ascension and beyond?
So just like when you hear other major companies, like Walmart was in Arkansas, I want one day people to say, Anboran is founded in Louisiana, and to know that like that's a great artist, a huge company that's putting stories out there that are going across the world. And we have little girls, little boys, parents, they thank me all the time. I get letters written to me, hey, you're doing a great job, how can I help? And it just, I'm excited at the growth, but what I really would like most is the continual support from the community, because that lets us know we're doing a good job, and it also allows us to give back more.
When you think about story ideas,
Mm-hmm.
because you have a day job,
Yes.
this is you wanting to be a father who can provide something that his daughter can see.
Uh-huh.
You walked into this.
Uh-huh.
Now you're an author.
Yes.
Walk me through this process of
Whew.
your day job to now I'm an author,
Yes.
and you're creating all these books that we have behind us.
Yeah, so it is pretty tough. My profession, I'm a clinical laboratory scientist. I manage 3 of Baton Rouge General's laboratories, along with my awesome team there, because I'm not doing it by myself. And so I would love to say shout out to Baton Rouge General, but during the day I'm working. I'm all over the place, but I see thousands of names. And in my field, I'll be like, that's an interesting name. And so I'll just write the name down. And then I may see another patient name. And sometimes I combine names. And throughout the day, I'm always working on the creative process. Sometimes I hear stories and I'll be like, okay, I can add this little piece to a story. And I jot it down in my phone. Then I come home, I'm ripping and running. My daughters are in dance, gym, cheer. And then I'm raising my nephew as well. He's into bowling. And so once we get that settled, the food done, I'm rushing to the desk over there to go like start writing. So, yeah.
So throughout the day, you're creating.
I'm creating all the time. Yeah.
How do you say the transition from scientist to now scientist/author has been?
So, as a scientist, one of the first things that come to mind is research. So the research inside helps the stories because I'm always like looking up different names of castles and different lands. I'm going back, I'm researching all the time. That's what I do on a daily basis. So when they come together, you can sometimes see it in the stories. And people are like, these are well written. And the worlds of the characters are built to like engulf you in and to take you there. I want to give you that out of body experience when you're reading the story so that you're there.
So take us there. There's Changing Beautiful, but then you started to create more books behind this. Tell me a little bit about the storylines.
Okay, so none of the stories are like if you, they don't, each story in itself takes you into a different world. They all are from the magical world of Anboran, created by the imagination of R. Anderson Jr. But in each story, some like Chandelier, which is our latest fairy tale that just come out, it's like it has this little dark feeling to it. So if you like Snow White and you're into witches and whatnot, then that would be a great fairy tale to read. Then you can come to The Hairless Bear if you're like a little preschooler, you're a little kid and you want to learn about empathy and name calling. How does that affect one when you're like being mean or rude to someone? Then in these stories, they will help you to learn because they're filled with morals. And I'm trying to get us back to that point of like, there's so much in entertainment today that is negative, whereas Anboran is like all positive. Where I want families to be able to trust our stories. And to trust our company, that when you allow your children or you yourself reading our stories, that we're not trying to sway you to do wrong. I want them to know that you're in good hands. So, yeah.
And if someone wanted to get their hands on an Anboran fairy tale, how do they do that?
So you can get Anboran through Anboran.com. That's our website. You click on there, you'll see like all our social media presence on there, from TikTok to YouTube. You'll find us there. Twitter, which is now X, you'll find us on there. So we're pretty much on all of the major platforms. You can get us through there.
And I have to bring this full circle.
Okay.
What does your daughter think about this brand, and how is she involved?
So I remember the first time I revealed this image right here to them, and that's why this image is here. She was like, Ellie, I want you to come see something. And so Kaya, they come in there, and I was like, look what's here. I want you to see. And then just to see that look on their face, the surprise. And she was like, what is it? I was like, that's another princess. I'm adding more. And so every day I'm working on it. And sometimes to see them like writing in their little books, creating their own little stories and whatnot, it's just inspiring, because that is inspiring them. And I'm interested too. I want to see where it goes from here with them as well. But they love it.
Well, Ronnie, thank you for taking us into your world.
Yes.
We are forever grateful. Thank you for taking the Ascension community into this world and beyond our community. And we just wish you a lot of growth and success.
Thank you.
If you would like to get your hands on an Anboran fairy tale, you heard them, Anboran.com will have access to that on the screen.